I'm tired of holding my own camera. This is all May. So we're having a debate about the way of life and source. Oh, we missed some important information, but we're gonna remember it because we're clever. Because this is important. And I am important. That's right. I'm starting to believe. I'm beginning to see and remember that I am important. So going back to source, source sees itself through itself. And so when it meets shortcuts and it finds the way to the source of what it wants through itself, okay, when the two meet, there's something magical that happens. It's like sparks. It's like source feels more alive in that moment through you. The excitement you feel about any thought that you think, or the excitement you feel around a person, or the excitement you feel in a day, those are the moments or the facts or the people that excite you, which excites source. So source within you is like whoa. Source within you likes shortcuts a lot. Okay? And so within itself, source has learned that there are shortcuts to life. Okay? And it's managing shortcuts through soulmates. When source delivers soulmates to each other, they oftentimes have purposes within each other to heal and to fix whatever is wrong with them. So whatever's out of balance, the moment that you come into contact with source self itself in the purest form of what you want, like a soulmate, because they are going to carry the identical qualities of what it is you want. Okay? So it's like opposites attract in this scenario. But go ahead. I want to rephrase the subject of opposites attract. It's actually the source within you is lacking something so bad, okay? And you are experiencing this perspective of the lack so that you can choose to embrace the fullness of life, because that is your choice. As source itself goes, love is the choice. Love is what you are. And so in the absence of it, you create it. Okay? So that's how opposites attract. It's because you are so strong in the lack of it that you want the opposite. Okay? And so when the opposite is looking back at you and he wants everything that you have, and when you're so far off the spectrum, and when source wants love and it wants love and it comes together, there is a soulmate effect. Okay? You are so beyond words attracted to one another because you are desiring everything you have within each other at that moment in time, from that perspective, okay, that you are so enormously magnetized to each other. But you're also philosophically, okay, philosophically meaning in theory, when the source comes to itself within itself, okay, when you get that soulmate, when you get that happiness, when you get, you don't know what to do with it because you've never had it. That's the truth of things. Okay? It is a scary thing to meet your soulmate. Straight up, each and every time. It is covered with fear and release and relief and enthusiasm and excitement and panic. Okay? And those are usually extreme because you are so far off the spectrum. You are so far off the spectrum that when you magnetize to each other, it's like a bang, it's like an explosion, and the source itself feels the impact, and it's hard and it's rough, and oftentimes it ends very quickly because you are not able to integrate. Okay? So be not surprised when it's over. Because the source in you is, I can't do this. The source in you is overwhelmed by the gift of love, overwhelmed by the easiness of it. So when you meet your soulmate, because you've been in a state of resistance to what is love, and you find that you desire love, so within the lack of love, within the lack of the desire, within the lack of the desire is the love. Do you understand? So within the lack of the desire is the love. Do you understand? So when source meets itself, the desire for that thing actually meets the point of love. Okay, my fingers, if you can't see, my fingers are like this. Okay, they're coming together. Okay. And so so the source within itself is the moment that you get the love, and this is the part of human beings that we absolutely love and desire within ourselves, is that we are driven by the lack of love. We are so fucking driven that we cannot imagine a different existence. We love to create love out of thin air, out of our asses, out of the source of who we are. We create love, and this world is beautiful as a result. Because there's love in everything everybody does. If you begin to see yourself as a source of love, you begin to see all the sources of everybody else. So this is why being soulmates and being so loved, for me, as a perspective on this world, is so important. It's monumental, it's fundamental, it's the basis of existence to me. As a human being, as a perspective, as a soul, as a source, as a creator, me, myself, I love, 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 and I fully fucking embrace the fact that I am a soul creator. I love the source within myself, and when I see it and I connect with it, everything changes. My perspective goes bam, and I can see everything from a source of self, from my perspective. Okay, so all the filters are on, but I can look beyond the filters because I am so deep within. So it's like layers, right? The further in you go, the more you feel yourself, the more you act out of love, the more you truly express yourself and you connect with yourself. And it just takes one time. Okay, soul love just takes one time. You meet your soul in the soul plane, and there's a guided meditation to do that through Sanaya Roman. You can do that. You can focus on the love you have for yourself. Okay? Okay? You can ask permission through the universe. There are guides specifically designed to trigger this in humanity now, and they come to you each and every time that you ask. And you begin to feel yourself and see yourself, especially through suffering. If you're suffering and it's hitting rock bottom, you're in a good place to wake up. You're in a fantastic, it breeds, the lack of source and lack of connection breeds the connection itself. And so the further from source you are, the more likely you are to go back right to it real fucking fast, and like a flash of lightning, like a flash of moment, and you're there. Okay, all you have to do is look in that direction of source within you. There is a consciousness that is attached right to you, to your mind, to your body, to your spirit, that leads right back to source. And it's impossible for human beings from this perspective to go all the way there, but you do go inside source itself. You do get to go up the branch and feel yourself, that you are a part of something greater, something more. So when you try that, Source comes back right to you, right to your doorway, to your doorstep. And when you look at everybody else from a source perspective, they look back at you. They look right back at you, but it's not necessarily always seen or felt, but source is looking at you at all times. From every eye in the center of the universe, there's an eye. Okay? There's like an all-knowingness. There's like 1,000 million perspectives multiplied by 1,000 million perspectives by 1,000 million perspectives, and source is the core of essence of knowing. Okay? But with that being said, okay, imagine you're like an extension of a root. Okay? So there's the tree, the main tree, and you are inside the dirt, inside the ground, the tiny little stem of a tiny little stem of a tinier little stem of a root. Okay? And that's extension of source. So you are this tiny little bearing of an extension that is deep into the ground, and you're experiencing a certain position within source. Okay, you're experiencing the certain position of a perspective of what source is. So you are the tree itself because you're part of the tree, but you're not the tree itself in this extension. And so because of that, you get access to your own little ground, to your own exploration, and that's how you are the creator. Within that space that is a lack of source, you get to become source itself. And so you grow into the ground and you make decisions based on what you need. Okay? It's that simple. That simple. We come into this earth to basically experiment and fall in love with yourself. We are basically here to fulfill our own needs, to become greater at what we do, which is love. Source loves itself. And we, as extensions of source, with our eyeballs, we've got two, because we've got two different perspectives, okay? We've got the source perspective, and then we've got the ground perspective, which is like the dirt and like the aloneness and everything that there is. Okay, the male and the female is basically what we're doing. Okay, the male is on the outside, the female is on the inside. Okay, so source, you could say it's feminine from this perspective. So that's why we have two eyeballs. Okay, so we can see the two merge together. In one eyeball, you wouldn't see the depth, because there is no contrast. So you gotta have contrast in your life. Okay, so the way this works is you come into a certain body, okay, certain body type, especially a lot of women are growing through their bodies, okay, and you also choose your parents, okay. As a source self, you get to choose your perspective in terms of what I want to experience next. This is the best way that I can put it. And so from source perspective, you come into this body, this physical experience, okay? And then you choose your parents, and they're aggressive, okay? Your parents, you chose them for very specific qualities, okay? The qualities of non-existence, that's ignorance, for example, okay? The qualities of bravery, which is stupidity and not knowing what to do, when to do it, and just doing without thinking or speaking without thinking, okay? That's ignorance. Okay, and you wanted to create love in that. You wanted to think before you said, and think before you speak, and think before you do, and decide what is best for you. That's what you wanted to create. So in the lack or the absence of certain quality, we created as creators. Okay, this is how we are creators. Everything that you are lacking as source, you're going to go forth, and you're going to express that from within, because that is your deepest hunger and desire. This is why we forget who we are. Okay, to create. We forget who we are, okay, as source creators. Because when you go back, when you leave the physical body, all memories come back. Everything, you get to become whole again, okay? So you get to travel up through the dimensions, which are right here. They're not actually up, they're within us. They're just different vibrations. So you get to become source self itself, and then you get to collect the whole of yourself, and then you get to know everything, okay? So when you go back to source, you become oneness with all of everything that is not physical. Non-physical is greater than the physical. I can tell you that right now. It's much more expensive because it is the collectiveness of all. It is the collectiveness of all time, all experiences there ever was. Anything in existence that ever existed is collected within a source. So when you go back, you know everything. Everything there is to know, you know, because you are it. Okay, you are it. You are the source. You become source. So that's why we forget everything that is possible so that we can explore something new. And as source creators, we do just that. So we present ourselves. So like, imagine children are like the growth of humanity, right? You have children, okay, and they are extensions of you, okay? They get to be born into this world from a new perspective. Like every single person that is on this planet has a different perspective. Like even siblings, okay? Like I have a brother who is so completely different than me that you could not imagine. Like we could not be more different on some levels, but yet we are very similar on some levels. So we developed two different perspectives even though we had the same parents, but we were born in a different time, under different circumstances. So even though we have the same parents, we don't adopt necessarily the same traits because timing is everything in this universe. Timing is like a docking ship, okay? And the waves that it has to collaborate with depend on the weather and the rest of the universe and the moon and the gravitational pull of the sun and so on and so forth. And so everything is like extended and then intended. Okay, extended and intended is sort of like the way the universe works. It goes back and forth. Now, remember that you're always communicating with the universe in a two-way street. Like it communicates to you, like source is speaking to you almost at all times. And it does that through feelings. Okay, so you never really leave source ever. In fact, you are more connected with source when you're suffering and you're angry and you're passionate about something. The flat line, it's like when nothing's happening, that's when you're least connected to source, and source hates that. Source hates that within you, and so it's gonna jar you awake. Like the drama that we create is because we don't want to flatline. Okay, so we either create emotion is what stirs us. That's the point. When emotion stirs us, it's so fabricated, it's so out there that source feels alive. I want to say through you, but that's not really true. Okay, you as source creator, okay, you've come here to experience a certain amount of love in a certain direction, very specific circumstances. So all human beings have very certain conditions, right? Where you live, how you were brought up, what you're raised, like everything's individual. Everything's so diverse in any given person. How their teeth look, how overweight they are, what kind of cat they have, what kind of job. You know, we can say that there's so many similar things about us because there is. There's so much connecting us that we could not begin to explain. When you go back to source, you feel every connection deep within that's ever been made within itself. Source holds that key and holds that perspective. And it is blissful and monumental. And the potential, you essentially go back to the potential of what is source. Everything that's ever happened that can happen is within source. Because that's just how it is. Everything is there in that space. It's there. You go back to yourself. And so when source experiments with different things, we come into this world very diverse, very extended, very pushy in a certain direction. And the conditions in which we are born are designed to propel us in this way. And this is the blessings of your childhood, okay? We want to say that every blessing in childhood of what you were lacking or a part of lacking okay, is like a monumental decision inside your head and your heart that this is what you want to create. So if you're creating connection within people, you must have lacked connection within people as source as you were born. Because the conditions of the source when you're born are very easy. You have one perspective, and that is nothingness. You were born into movement. Out of nothingness, you don't, when you see yourself as a perspective of an infant, you know nothing. You've forgotten all that you are, and you are starting fresh. But imagine the universe always moving. And basically what a baby does, okay, it stops all of its growth and movement, okay, for just a split second. In the moment of conception, there's a spark, there's a connection, okay? So when orgasm happens, there's enough amount of attention within source in that to connect with itself. So every time you have an orgasm, it feels so good because source is actually connecting with this moment, the source of source itself, okay? And so when an orgasm happens, okay, source has a choice of propelling itself into that moment in time, into the circumstances, and grow. It has a choice. Whether it chooses to propel that baby or not is up to source. And essentially, it's up to you. It's up to the parents. The parents unconsciously actually decide whether it's a good time for source to experience itself or experience itself. It's like everything in this world is a choice, okay? And you make it consciously or unconsciously, but the source within you knows what it needs. Always. Always. And is always striving for that. Whether your mind, which is only, your mind is three-dimensional. So it's bound to the limits and the limitations of what is possible only here. Your heart is not. So your center of yourself is the bigger brain. It's the one that knows everything, okay? So when you want to know something you don't know up here, look inside your heart. Each and every time you will know, because this is the center here is what's connected to source. The center here is what's connected to physicality. So this is like almost opposite. So when you, a lot of us who are teaching spirituality are actually encouraging, like I am through my spirituality, I'm very much being encouraged from the sources of my perspective of what I need. Those teachers that are giving me exactly what I am looking for, okay, they are giving me the question of, is it very important to connect your mind to your heart? And I say yes. I say yes, 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 yes. Because when I can do that, this is what happens. This video is what happens when I connect my heart to my soul and to my brain and to my mind, to my heart and my soul. Okay? So when this connection happens, this is what happens. Something beautiful, something essential, something that feels real to the core. Because the source within itself is connected. Okay, what happens is that you open up a flow. Okay, so you open up a flow of love because source is love. Source loves to love itself. Source is love itself. Okay, love is what you feel. So let's go backwards for a minute. Think about it this way. Love is what you feel when you feel source. Okay, so that's why falling in love is what we search for, is because we are searching for source itself within ourselves, within each other. Okay, we want to see and experience source itself, and when we connect with the source within ourselves, we feel love. And when sparks fly, okay, when source finds itself intimately, when it nourishes itself and when it fulfills itself. So when you fall in love with somebody, it's because they have what you're searching for. So when you hold the lack of it, okay, and then you find the fulfillment of it in somebody else, that's source connecting with its own feelings, its own emotions, its own fulfillment, and it searches for that. It wants to please itself. And so we hold all these different perspectives because we want to discover what it is we want in each other, in ourselves. Source within itself wants to love itself. Okay, so we go forth, we create these lacks, we search out what it is we want to create, and then when we get it, the desire dies down. So when you want to feel love, and be love, desire must cease a bit more. Desire is designed to propel you forward, but then when you feel love, the only thing you can do is allow it to flow out of you. And the momentum. So here's the thing. Here's the scientific part of this, okay? There's a I wish I had charts right now. Like, honestly, I wish I could draw on the board. This is why I want to teach, okay? So this is how it works. Is desire is this big when there's a lack. Like, it's this big. It's like the size of your head, okay? Everything you want is you want that. You want that so bad. You want that person so bad. You want that schooling so bad. You want to race so bad. Whatever it is that drives you, you want to get in an argument with that person so bad. You want to tell them off so bad. And the source within you is creating that lack to experience more of something that you really want, and it's driving you. Okay? So it's like taking candy away from baby. Baby is going to want candy fucking right. Okay? So don't take, if you don't want your kids to want candy, let them have it. Let them have the candy. Tell them, does that taste good, baby? Do you want something else? And let them make that decision. I bet you they're going to want something else, because sugar doesn't really feel good. It's only that we deny ourselves the sugar that it feels so good. Anyways, that's a whole nother subject, okay? So I'm having so much fun with this. I love this. So Source will pull back a certain aspect of self, okay, to uncover more of that aspect of self, if you will. So if I want more connection, if I want to explore the depths of connecting with people, like to the core, to the source, to everything that they are and deep within. Most people aren't ready for this, but source is responding within all of us, okay? So we are all source, and source is not stupid. Source knows exactly how to communicate. So it's developed these rings inside your body. Okay, they're called the chakras. And when these chakras come into contact, there is no way you can hide from yourself. And there is no way you can hide from source. So when chakras come into contact with another human being, they are communicating. That's why it feels so good when you come into contact with a hot guy. I'm just going to be like, scenario, okay? Just a scenario feels so weird. So when you come into contact with someone who holds the keys to your perspective of lack, okay, towards the source, they hold some sort of answer you are seeking, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it inside your body. You're going to feel tingles, butterflies. You're going to feel like, oh my God, guys, this is a stupid perspective for me. So what do I really want to say? Like, when you stand next to a person on a SkyTrain and you're not even looking at them, you're not even aware of them, but something inside your body tells you turn around, okay? And you turn around, and most people don't think anything of it, but this is how it works, okay? Most people they don't see that split moment of awareness of second, okay? So when you're on a SkyTrain and you stand to somebody that you don't even know is there, and something inside you tells you turn around, and you turn around and you look at this guy that is, or even a woman. I have this more with women than guys. This is strange. I don't know why. My perspective is more masculine a lot of the time, so I am more masculine and feminine a lot of the times. So I will see this within women. So I will turn around and I will see something that I can feel. I can feel it more than I can understand it. And what I feel is attraction, a magnetic pull. Now, most of us mistake this for sexual attraction, or not even mistake, because you can be sexual if you want to, right? But most people don't accept that. So you don't go through with that. You don't go all the way to source of what source wants to express itself. That's why we are so sexual in this age, because source is now allowing itself, okay, for the lack of a better perspective or better word, to come together and have sex with random strangers just for the fuck of it. And Source is loving that perspective. Source is gonna do it, and is gonna keep doing it until it has had its fill through perspectives from multiple partners, multiple people, okay? And then the next level of growth is gonna happen. What do I really want? Okay, so now I've had that. Okay, I've had random connections or random sexual partners. What is my next step in growth? Okay, once you fulfill that need, the next one arises. Okay, and so that's the progression of growth, and that's how source is. So when you come into it, so let's just go back. So when you come into contact with someone who holds the perspectives of all your answers and all your keys, of what you're looking for in life or in general or in yourself, or what you've come to experience, what you're seeking in life, okay, you're going to feel it. And it's usually in terms of magnetic pull. I can't get enough of this person. I don't know why. Oftentimes because they're a mirror. So they will show you all of your flaws so that you can see them. Okay. So oftentimes we don't have the conditions of, okay, so think of it this way. When you're singular, okay, when you're one, you can't see yourself because there's just one of you. Okay? It's like, imagine being blind, stupid, and have no sensory perception. So you couldn't feel, like your sense of touch wasn't there, your sense of smell wasn't there, your sense of taste wasn't there, you couldn't see. Okay? So you couldn't feel, see, or perceive anything. You're just in darkness. You're just inside yourself, oneness, and that's all there is. And no movement happens, nothing happens. And you're eternally in that. That's source. And source discovered that it could create. Source within itself, because of the nothingness, developed the desire of the lack of nothingness. Okay? So it developed the sense of self, sense of perception, sense of touch, sense of feeling, sense of spreading out there, and separating itself from itself. So source, essentially, as a lack of perspective, as a lack of self, source divided itself. And this essentially the desire to split the original cell into two. Okay, if you go back to history, okay, evolution teaches that, science teaches this, that there was one cell and then there was two. Why there was two, science does explain that theoretically, but I am connected to source now. So I can tell you that when you're nothing and it's nothing. And out of that is born the desire for something, for self. So when you're nothing, you want to be something. You want to be other than nothing. So source divided itself into two. And because they were both source, okay, they looked at each other and they loved each other. They sensed themselves in each other. And because there was two and they were able to look at each other within the cell, they were able to sense each other within the cell. They grew. Because what they discovered, what source discovered, the essence, the basis of source, is that the lack of perspective is the lack of growth. Okay? And so because source desired to grow and extend itself beyond itself so it could see itself, it kept dividing. And it kept dividing to an intelligent design for a certain purpose. And so source is continuously doing that. And we are source. Source perspective. So when you come into contact with a soulmate, well, you see how that happens, how the sparks happen. I hope that this explains things a lot more, a lot better. So when you, okay, here's the other thing. When you deny yourself the source, you're denying yourself the source. So when you're, okay, from your perspective, when you're greatly attracted to somebody, it is in your best interest to see what this person has to offer without obligation or expectation. Because when you're around that person, okay, and they've got the keys, they hold the keys to what it is you want, you're going to see yourself in them, and the desire or the lack of what you're pursuing is going to die out. Essentially, the key is that you relax around them as much as possible. So when you feel extreme, intense feelings towards someone, it is best in that moment to not only see them, spend time with them casually, without the negating of it, without making yourself wrong, but also without the intense desire to do so. And that's how it happens. Because when the desire is this big, going back to what I was saying, when the desire is this big, when you come into contact of the fulfillment of the desire slows down and then opens up the love. So then you are receiving. Okay, so the desire is now dying down, and you must allow yourself to relax, experience, and receive. And this is the beauty of growth. So then when you relax and experience and allow to receive that gift of what you've been seeking, okay, then you become that. When you allow it, it becomes a part of you. You sort of like absorb the experience back into yourself. And then you fulfill that desire. And nothing feels better to Source than fulfillment of desire. Because when Source split from itself, the separation of Source so it can see itself and fulfill itself and please itself, that is the purpose of life, is to grow. The extensions of ourselves are seeking to help ourselves grow somehow. And that's what we're doing. We are enormous creators. And this desire and the lack of love and then the meeting of love and the fulfillment of desire is the best thing in the world. And that's what makes us grow. So essentially, this is the purpose of life. This is why we are here, is to expand. Expansion. And we are explorers of just that. What it is we need, what it is we want, what it is we're seeking in the depths of our soul. What it is we were lacking at beginning of growth, beginning of this lifetime, and everything that presents itself afterwards is a Source extension of yourself. That which you are meeting is meeting you. It's always a two-way street. Always. A two-way connection. And when Source meets itself, because we're all Source, it rejoices. And so sparks fly. Okay. Thank you for joining me on this journey and explaining to you what Source perspective is like. I love you all. Thank you for watching. This is Magdalena.